begun. The trade wars have. President Trump has just implemented his tariff strategy, and as expected, everybody's freaking out about it. Let's break it down and see what the hubbub is about. Hi folks, I'm Paul, and this is my take. Trump can no longer say that he didn't start any new wars. That being said, if you can fight and win a war without having to fire a shot, that's a good war. One I don't necessarily object to. So before we dive into this whole ordeal, let's just break down what a tariff is. In its simplest form, a tariff is a type of tax that can be applied to imported and exported products. Government can introduce tariffs for a number of reasons, but when used economically, tariffs can be a means by which government generates funds for itself. But in this particular case, I think they're being used for political leverage. Essentially, think of them as a barrier to entry. Say you want to go to a carnival, ride the rides, play the games, win some prizes, have a good time. Well, a lot of the time, you've got to pay a fee to get into that carnival. You need to pay for a ticket to be there. And maybe you think that's stupid. Maybe you think that's dumb. Why do I need to pay an additional cost if I'm already going to be going in there and spending money to ride the rides and play the games? Why do I need to pay this additional cost? Well, because the price you pay to get through the gate typically facilitates the ability for a carnival to be there at all. If the United States didn't exist, if we didn't have the American market system, there would obviously be no American market. And for a very long time, the United States have allowed in a lot of other nations to participate in the American market for either no cost or a very, very low cost, which has been great for these other nations. And it's been great for the United States as well, but it's also come with a lot of downsides. I'm going to use that carnival metaphor again to tell a story. Imagine the Great American Carnival. It's beautiful, fun, exciting. There's so much to do, so much to participate in. And for a very, very long time, the boss man who runs this carnival has allowed in a lot of guests for basically free. And for a long time, it's been mutually beneficial. They come into the carnival, they spend their money, ride the rides, have a good time, play the games, win prizes. Some of the guests have even applied to set up their own stands and sell some cool novelty items. For a long time, it has been great. But then, these guests started getting a little rowdy. They brought in a bunch of friends that the carnival didn't really approve of. They were setting up their own booths that were unsanctioned. They didn't go through the proper channels to do that kind of thing. And possibly worse, they've been selling some rotten cotton candy. People at the carnival were getting sick. The guests that these people were bringing in were robbing and hurting people. Things were getting bad. So the boss man pulled them aside and said, "Hey guys, we love having you here. We love that you're having fun and having a good time. That's the whole point of a carnival, right? For people to have a good time. But I'm going to be honest. I've been seeing a lot of bad behavior out of you. I'm going to need you to stop being rowdy, okay? Stop selling the poisonous cotton candy. Stop bringing in these dangerous people that we didn't invite. We've got rules here at the Great American Carnival, and you need to follow them, okay?" And what did the guests do? Do you think they said, "Oh, yeah, for sure. I'm sorry about that"? No. They said, "Ha ha, yeah, we're not gonna do that." And they threw their drinks at the boss man and snickered like little punks. So the boss man picked them up by the collars, took them to the gate, and said, "Fine. Tickets to enter are now $50. And the rowdies went, "$50? Are you insane? You know that we spend money at that carnival. The people who run those booths, they're going to miss out on all that money now." And the boss man nodded and said, "Yes, they are. They won't be making as much money from you, it's true. They won't be able to get maple syrup candy or tacos or chintzy plastic toys as cheaply as they had before. But we couldn't tolerate the poisonous cotton candy, and the guests that you were bringing with you, they have to go too. So I guess that's a price worth paying. If you can get around to respecting the rules we have here, then maybe we can talk about letting you back in for a lower fee." Then, in a panicked stupor, the rowdies said, "Well, you know what? Now you can't come to our carnival. You have to pay $50 to get into our gate. And the boss man looked across the road at their carnival. Much smaller. Fewer rides, less people. Sure, a few neat novelties, we won't deny them that. But all in all, the boss man knew, my carnival is better. So instead of buying maple syrup candies, the people of the Great American Carnival bought apple pie. And the people of the Great Canadian and Mexican and Chinese carnivals bought the exclusive items to those carnivals. Maybe some people in the American Carnival wanted to buy some tacos, but not if they came with the additional cost of $50. So instead, they bought corn dogs because they were made right there at the American Carnival and they were significantly cheaper. So I see a lot of people from mainly Canada that are simply shocked that this is happening. Some of them are saying, I'm sorry, but Trump is doing this for no reason. Canada is like one of the best neighbors any country could have. This is so messed up. Now, he's not doing this for no reason. In fact, he's doing this because Canada and Mexico have actually been kind of bad neighbors to the United States lately. Illegal immigrants who are wantonly hurting American citizens have been pouring over both borders, exploiting our systems, undercutting our wages, committing violent crimes against Americans, flooding our streets with some of the most dangerous substances known to man. And Donald Trump has given these nations the opportunity to stop it. They stated that they wouldn't play ball, so tariff time. And you can hate Trump for that. You can say it's going to make a lot of things more expensive for Americans. And you know what? You're not wrong. This is a gambit by Trump. It's an economic game of chicken. It could easily end up really bad. It could. But to use another analogy or metaphor, the Canadian, Mexican, and Chinese markets are like a Toyota Tacoma. Great truck, sturdy, reliable, a lot of horsepower, good durability. But on the other hand, the American market is like an M1A2 Abrams tank. Both of these vehicles are robust, strong, impressive. But in a game of chicken between these two, if they're both going to collide with one another, yeah, they're both going to take some damage, sure. But which one would you bet on surviving? The calculus that President Trump is making here is that these nations realize this before impact. I don't think that he or anyone anticipates them being stupid enough to actually collide, so to speak, with the United States. So, like I said, you can hate Donald Trump for this. It's likely that certain products in the United States will indeed get more expensive for a little while. And yeah, we're probably going to have to deal with it. Like me, I really like Pendleton whiskey. It's a Canadian whiskey. Probably going to be a lot more expensive for a little while. So I guess I'll switch over to wild turkey. But what else I think this will ultimately do is open up some market opportunities for the United States. Opportunities to start building and developing some industries here that we've relied on foreign imports for. Like, did you know that the majority of American pharmaceuticals are made in China? Does nobody see how that could potentially be a problem? As an aside, you're also seeing a lot of people adopt the mentality of buying local because, especially with tariffs, it's going to be a lot cheaper. In my last video, I mentioned that I'm a nationalist and that I like seeing nationalism from people of other countries. And it looks like you might be seeing that happening in certain parts of Canada. This picture is floating around right now, encouraging Canadian shoppers to buy Canadian. And I think that's awesome. It's in their nation's best interest to buy Canadian. It's in the United States' best interest to buy American. And lefties are acting like this is supposed to be some kind of own to Trump or conservatives, but I think it's awesome. I want to see more Canadian national identity like this, and I hope they can muster it. I don't know if they can, though, because pretty much half of the people living in Canada aren't Canadian, so whoops. But anyway, Trump is a businessman. He understands leverage. He understands deals. The guy wrote a book about that. And he's right. America and her citizens have been getting a bad deal for a very long time. And he's going to do something about it. Is it drastic? Maybe. Is it mean? Probably. But I've come to understand that sometimes if things are going the wrong way, and they've been going the wrong way for a long time, and you've asked nicely for things to not be going in the wrong way, and the only way to get things going in the right way is to be a little mean, it's time to be a little mean. I actually think it's pretty clever. And the people who don't are either pessimistic, not paying attention, or they just hate Trump and by extension America so much that they'll find a reason to complain about anything. Things have needed to change in America for a long time, at big time too. And finally, someone is in office with the will to actually do something to make that change. A trade war is better than a hot war. And if you can make those changes without firing a shot, I'm game. I guess the question now is, are they? And it looks like the answer is yes. The tariffs look like they're going to be held off for the time being. Justin Trudeau and Claudia Shienbaum, literally upon me making this video, just announced that they will agree to policing their borders. That was fast. They decided to keep their Tacomas intact, rather than go toe-to-toe with a tank. I'm glad. Anyway, that's all I've got for today. But I'm interested to hear what you think. Maybe you have an angle that I'm not seeing. Maybe you think I'm looking at this too simplistically. Whatever your thoughts are, I would love to hear them in the comments below. As always, if you enjoy my content and want to see more, I would really appreciate it if you liked and subscribed. Hope you're all having a fantastic day, and I will see y'all next time.